Michael J. Govier. Take it away, Govier.
Well, thank you very much, Nick. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I thought maybe we'd start off with a quick sing-along. In fact, I should have asked Nick to stick around for this, but I'm going to do it by myself because I love baseball, and I thought it'd be fun to do this. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, so let's root for the Tigers. They don't win, it's a shame. It's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out of the old ball game. You tell me that wasn't fun? Come on, that was fun. I don't know if the sound synced up ideally, so if it's screwed up, again, I'll take responsibility. But that's what baseball's all about. It's about those fun moments. Going to the game, sitting down, finding your seat. It's like, oh, where's your seat? Where is it? Usually, if you're a newcomer to the game, it'll be a total mystery to you. And that's something I want everybody to think about today. Because when I think about all the people I know who love baseball, and there's a lot of people, most of the people watching PitchCon, you know, you're into baseball, right? I know what you're up to. I know your game. You love the game. You grew up on the game. Odds are you didn't just show up to a PitchCon panel or any type of presentation because you were curious about baseball. I just feel like that's unlikely. But if it is the case, welcome. Good to have you here. Thank you for giving us some of your time. I'm grateful that you are here. Now, I can do a lot of things. I got this thing. I could play this. That doesn't sound like fun, though, does it? I don't want to do that either. I could do a sock giveaway. I got socks. No, I don't want to do that. I got a hammer. If you're a Bob Vila type dude, you're into Home Depot stuff, we could do some work around the house for the next half hour. Nah, we won't do that either. Well, what about this? I got this. I am not a fan of the Cleveland Guardians, and I sat through a game once where a guy banged on that drum. Boom, 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 boom. Every at-bat, every pitch. It was absurd. It was absolutely absurd. I couldn't believe the dedication that guy had. And I know, shout out to Rotosaurus, Dave McDonald and that crew, because they told me his actual name. Apparently he's a legend in Cleveland, now known as the Guardians, which is way overdue. And, you know, that's part of the story. The Cleveland Guardians, formerly known as the Cleveland Indians, and their logos and the history that they had, which were just flat out bigoted. They were completely unacceptable, but the history of a game moves very, very slowly, unfortunately. And this can turn certain people off. And this is something I want you to think about, okay? Because I did a survey, and I broke it down. I asked 5 simple questions. 5 easy questions. It's about, hey, do you enjoy the game? Do you feel like you're disconnected or connected from the game? In what way? Explain yourselves. So I got some answers to that, and I found them to be quite intriguing because we got over 100 responses easy. I could have kept going and going and going, but I just wanted a sample, a taste, a tiny, tiny taste. And I'm excited to do this. This is what it's all about. There's also the history of music. And we just played Take Me Out to the Ball Game, which goes back eons, right? To a time when the game, there's no other way to say it. The game has a problematic past, to put it lightly. I mean, integration doesn't happen until 1947. And by then, there had already been decades of professional baseball played. And to me, that's all bogus. Like anything before 1947, I'm not really into it. And it's not fair to every person who ever played baseball before that time, because not every white dude who played was a racist, but there was a lot of them. So you think about the complicated history in the past of baseball and where it is now and why there's a lot of questions about the game, right? Because there are plenty of questions. And if you think there isn't, well, you're probably lying to yourself. Probably the type of person who likes to keep their head buried in the sand. You know, keep it low key. don't really stress out about anything. Try to avoid any type of confrontation at all costs. Am I right? So I get that. Ignorance is bliss actually has some legitimacy to it. I see the pro bono benefit of it. I can see, hey, I can just ignore everything and it'll be a great life for me. But that's not how it works. And baseball has so many layers, so many cultural angles. The game belongs to a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, and that's super cool. That's one of the best things about baseball is that uniqueness. It's a true melting pot. If America's known as a melting pot, baseball is an example of that in action. And it has been, always been the case, not professionally all the time, but throughout its history, baseball's been played all over the Western Hemisphere. And now the Eastern Hemisphere, very much so as well. They've come together, both of these sides. And we got, remember when the lockdown happened? I don't know if anybody can go more than an hour ever bringing up the lockdown, but COVID shut us down. COVID took it to us, and they said, hey, it's not cool. You're going to have to stay indoors. And suddenly the KBO was the biggest thing ever. How was that possible? Why was that possible? Well, you got no Major League Baseball. Not going to go into all the details on that one. I don't need to explain that to you. Let's just say it was a complicated fight, as it always is, just like it is right now. Even under that cloud currently of the lockout, we are doing this, and we're celebrating the game. Shows our resolve, just a side note. But the KBO became the thing. And I started seeing all kinds of analysts on ESPN talking about the KBO. They were playing KBO games live on TV because that was the baseball we needed, because people love the game. They love baseball. They do. So baseball's not dead. And if baseball is boring or baseball is lame, or if you're disappointed in any way with the game, well, then we have to look at the factors for why that is, because there still is a passion of it. It doesn't have to be Major League Baseball. It doesn't. It could be the KBO. It could be Nippon. There's so many leagues now, and they get more attention than ever. In the World Baseball Classic, which, it was a good attempt. I feel like it doesn't have that competitive spirit that you'd like it to see, but it's still young. It's in its infancy, but you saw many different angles of all kinds of different people from dozens of countries. Very, very cool. And they all loved the game, and they all celebrated the game differently. That is key. This is so important. Differences don't divide us. Differences unite us. They do, because that's what's happening with baseball. All of the different ways that people play, or all the different ways that are celebrating the game, people are drawn to that. When Jose Bautista did his bat flip, the legendary bat flip, it's been memed a billion times. We all talk about it. Bautista, by the way, I always loved how Buck Martinez said Bautista the best. Buck Martinez, Toronto Blue Jays, play-by-play analyst dude. Bautista. It's really high pitch. It's like Bautista. And I'm not ripping on you. I love you, Buck. I'm a huge fan. I'm just trying to do my best Bautista impersonation, and I might not be doing a great job. At any rate, though, when he did that bat flip, the legendary bat flip in the playoffs there, that was fun. Toronto lost their minds. Have you seen the highlights? Have you seen the clips? I mean, that place was melting down. It was cool. It was really, really cool. It was exciting. It was fresh. And that's one of baseball's issues. A lack of freshness. A real stale, musty smell throughout the place. You ever go to a basement? I live in Michigan. I got my Detroit Tigers shirt on here. Actually, with the green screen, these letters are probably going right through me. I don't know what that looks like, but what does it look like? Is it weird? How weird do I look? Is it awkward? Oh, boy. Anyways, this was from the last couple of weeks at Old Tiger Stadium, and that was awesome. I went to the final game at Old Tiger Stadium, and that was a highlight. That was a real special moment, man. It really was. The people came there to see a crappy team. The 99 Tigers were not very good. They just were not. They were just kind of humming along. Bobby Higginson. I don't know. Was Phil Nevin around then? I know Randy Smith was supposed to be the savior. The GM came over from San Diego, and then he made every trade with San Diego. So I don't know what that whole Tigers era is just rife with disappointment, I feel like, because there was a ton of great hitters in the 90s on the Tigers. And that's what I remember. As we came to that final day, the final game at Tiger Stadium in September, it was end of September 99. 1999, the final game, and it was a celebration. From the get-go, they were playing the Royals, but who cares? It didn't matter who they were playing. It was a tribute to this palace, and people use phrases and terminology that gives a lot of weight to the places that they've watched their teams play at, right? You know, Fenway and Wrigley and Chavez Ravine. And Tiger Stadium was as iconic as anything, even though it was a weird stadium. Those overhangs were so funny. You could hit a ball maybe 300 feet at most. It hits the overhang on the upper deck. Home run! Woohoo! Yeah! Hey, I loved going there, even though it was a very dank place. Didn't matter. It was the first stadium I ever knew. And I grew up with it. You know, I was born in 1980, and I went to Tiger Stadium for a good 15 years. A lot of memories there. No playoff memories for me. But that final day was a culmination of that cathedral, that final resting place for all the baseball that had been played from 1912 until 1999. I mean, it used to be called Brake Stadium. It had other names prior to being called Plain Old Tiger Stadium, which was one of the best names. Everything's corporatized now. Every stadium, every field, every sport, baseball's not an exception here. Every sport has corporatized all of every last detail so they can squeeze every last ounce of dollars out of their assets. And I get that. I like money and I live in America. I enjoy cash, although I don't really carry cash anymore. It's really a Cash App, Venmo. That didn't exist in 99. And in 99 at that game, we saw Robert Fick, a nondescript player, a very typical player, a catcher, a first baseman. He cranked a grand slam in the 8th inning. And I was sitting, right field foul pole, upper deck on the foul side, first base line all the way to the outfield. I'm basically at the kitty corner there of the right field foul pole and the first base line, all the way down the right field line. And Fick hit it right along that line. A grand slam. And I hope whoever was pitching that day for the Royals, I hope they served it up, because they would understand the weight and magnitude of the situation. Be like, this is it. This is the last game anybody's playing here, so let's serve them up a meatball. And they did. It was amazing. It was awesome. It was so cool. We screamed, yeah, oh my God. Every ounce of disappointment and frustration and passion that we had for the team, and our lives and our community in Detroit. It all came pouring out of us in that moment. And then after the game ended, it was a parade of legends, Tigers legends, one after the other. And it was great. Nobody wanted to leave. I saw Michigan football beat Ohio State for the first time in 10 years recently. Yes, I went to Michigan. Yes, blah, blah, blah. Michigan is a bloated, overrated university that has a lot of problems. I'll just leave it at that for now. But nobody wanted to leave the field after the game was over. And you saw the broadcast kept going on. There's just people mingling around on the field for like an hour. And I was like, this is so cool. God, I wish I was there. And it reminded me of Tiger Stadium in 99. And how much fun we had there, seeing every old school star being paraded in. And now Cecil Fielder, woo, and Ron LaFleur, woo, Kirk Gibson. Yeah, it was just a parade of the classics from 70s teams, 60s teams. Mickey Lolich, Norm Cash. It was really cool. Willie Horton. Everybody loves Willie Horton. And that was before my time, but even I understood how much he meant to people. So you think about a memory like that, you really stop and say, hey, what does this game mean to me? What does it mean to other people? And time can warp things, could really confuse us. individually and as a collective. And the older you get, in my experience so far, is that I realize, every generation that comes up, the last generation will rip on it because things change. And people, it just seems overall as a collective, a lot of people don't like change on the whole. I love change. I think it's great. I think it's a lot of fun. I love new ideas. I love keeping things fresh like I was talking about. Going back to my earlier point about the musty, stale smell that baseball has around it at certain points right now. And I'm not trying to infiltrate my personal opinion in this. Okay? There's an electricity. There's a passion. There's an excitement. A guy like Jazz Chisholm is fire. He's straight fire. And he's the kind of guy I dig. I love watching him play. I look at Jazz Chisholm play today for the Marlins, and I think about that day in 1999 at Tiger Stadium, and I feel the same electricity. It might be a little bit different based on the context, but that vibe is there, and that vibe is baseball at its core. The core of the game, bringing exciting moments to you. And if you ever lived in Michigan, like I said, that was the original point I started on, which was, gosh, what day is it? Oh, good, we're doing great. I thought about the fact that, Michigan has a lot of musty basements. Basements are very big in Michigan, and they stink unless they're finished. And even then, they could be filled with water, and then they'll stink still. But I'll tell you, it doesn't feel like the game is dead by any means. And anybody who's trying to write the final obituary of professional baseball in the modern age, they're not really trying. You know what I mean? I don't feel like they're giving it their all. But that doesn't mean there's not issues. And this kind of leads me back to the survey. And I wanted to share some of the responses that you, the people, gave me. That's you. Maybe not you specifically. Maybe you didn't fill it out. But I bet someone who filled it out is watching this right now. And if you are, hi, how you doing? I'm Michael Govier, by the way. I think Nick already said my name 20 minutes in. Anyways, so let's try this one. What is your biggest complaint? Now, right there, let's keep it real, okay? Let's keep it honest. Let's keep it 100. By using the word complaint in my wording of the question, I'm leading them because I want to know what the complaint is. I'm not asking for the good times. What's your favorite memory? I didn't ask for that, so I'll call that out directly. Not going to lie. What is your biggest complaint about Major League Baseball today on or off the field? Okay? So it doesn't have to be during the game. It could be something unrelated to the game while it's being played. You copy? All right. You guys want me to go back to the drum? Is it getting boring yet? Just let me know, because I got the drum right here. I'll go back to that. I also got the flute over there. All right, so, and this is besides the lockout. Nobody can bring up the lockout because obviously it bums everybody out. No one's down with the lockout. It stinks. All right, so here's the responses. Blackouts. Oh, anybody who watches MLB TV, you know all about blackouts. It really pisses people off. People got issues with it because they're trying to watch their team and they can't. And it seems unnecessary because these determinations of the blackout lines across the country that MLB TV makes, they just don't seem to make sense all the time. And there seems to be situations related to what ownership of certain teams want their market to be. And they dictate that over being able to watch a game when you're in the area or you're in the region of being able to watch that game. It bothers a lot of people, and I get it. I understand that. MLB's inability to market their players and sport. Oh, no. MLB. It really does seem like you're the worst when it comes to trying to market your players. Now, wouldn't it feel like MLBPA would try to do a better job of that too? Because they are. I think it's fair to say they still are the strongest union of any major sport. So where does MLBPA come into that? And how much money is available for that? These are questions you should ask yourself. Why aren't they marketing their players more too? Is there not enough money available? That's a fair point. We know the owners got cash, and you would figure there would be some type of marketing agreement in a CBA. All right, we need this much money set aside so we can market our players to let people know how awesome they are. People want to know Mike Trout's amazing. People know who Mike Trout is. That's fair. And they know who Mookie Betts is. Shohei Ohtani's come on the scene, and I think people know who he is now. But if you walked around, I'm serious. If you walked around the United States of America and you asked, I don't know, 50 people, hey, who's Juan Soto? Do you really think half of them would know who Juan Soto is? I'm curious what you would think of that, because to me, Juan Soto is incredible. Came up at 19 years old. It was unreal what he did. OBP, historic stuff. It was really impressive. But not everybody knows who Juan Soto is, unless they watched World Series of 2019. And if they didn't watch World Series, odds are there's just no marketing of Juan Soto nationally. And this also goes back to the point where a lot of people say now that baseball has become a regional sport. It's a regional sport, and, you know, it just doesn't have that national appeal anymore. I'm standing by live here, and the word on the street is that baseball no longer has the national appeal. It's become strictly a regional sport. Back to you, Richard. Come on. College football is a regional sport, but it's national. And so is baseball. So I don't like that argument. Just a side note. All right, more responses from the biggest complaints about MLB on or off the field. It's a funny one. Fans complaining rather than enjoying the game. Fans complaining rather than enjoying the game. What if this is a... I feel like this is some shade being thrown back at me because I said, what's your biggest complaint? That's funny. Whoever wrote that, very good. That's clever. They don't allow the players to express their personalities. This is a big one. And they don't market the players. See, this is another one. I've heard don't market several times. But the expression of personality and the old school rules of baseball, the unwritten rules. Oh, dude, come on. You're killing me. It's such a lame proposition with your old school unwritten rules. They've got to go. They've really got to go. It just limits the fun. And maybe I don't see things from the hot take mega clicks point of view. That's fair. Because the drama that happens with the unwritten rules, players getting suspended for a few games, throwing at each other, getting pissed because somebody did a bat flip, or, ran the bases too slowly or whatever that, all these little things that go back to, frankly, they go way back to baseball's early days, their pre-integration days, which I told you were pretty bogus to me. I'll never respect that. Sorry. So think about that. And I think there's a lot of players who are with this person and me and you, right? You want to see an expression of excitement and passion. You want to be like, woo! Yeah, you want to see some Ric Flair woos from some, anybody. You want to see Trey Turner go crazy? We all want to see Trey Turner go crazy, don't we? Preferably with 60 stolen bases. That'd be nice this year. Just saying. But I don't know if we'll get 60. That's a big number. So anyways, there was a lot of people just repetitive comments. And if you can't have an expression of yourself as a human being and a baseball player, I know you got to respect your teammates. And you got to respect the teams you play. I get it. I'm down with it. But you could still be alive. If you're an introvert, be an introvert. If you're an extrovert, then be an extrovert. Let it out. Say it loud, say it proud. That's what I say. Some people say I'm too loud. And for a lot of years, I really let that hinder me. I was like, oh God, I don't want people to think I'm the center of attention all the time. I don't want to be too loud. Shh, hush, quiet. That's a waste of an attribute that I have, a talent I have to offer. Why would I do that? Why would I limit myself because someone else didn't like me? Oh my God, someone else doesn't like me. I can't believe it. How dare you not like me? I am incredible. You don't know what you're talking about. No, I have flaws. Yep, breaking news, I've got flaws. But having yourself be limited by others because someone doesn't like the way you do things, if you're not being cruel, if you're not hurting people directly, if you just don't like somebody because of the way they do something like walk or run or hit a baseball or throw a baseball or celebrate after they hit a baseball, then maybe you should take a look at yourself. Do a little introspection on your own time and be like, hey, let's going on with me? Why am I so obsessed with this person? Maybe I should take a look at my own house. Just saying. Might be something to think about. Yeah. Just saying. I don't know everything. I'm totally a bozo. I've said that on the record many times. I'm an absolute bozo. So anyways, then there was also some complaints about replay review. But I like replay review. I want to get the call right. And this goes into the classic baseball is boring because it takes too long. Have you ever watched a college football game on television? Worse, have you ever sat live at a college football game? It's unbearable. It goes on forever. And there's hardly any action. They do a quick play. Hut, back to pass, throws it over. Oh, we break. Okay, you complete. That's it. As opposed to this. And here's the pitch. Swing and a ground ball up the middle. That's a base hit. And the runner's coming around second. And he's turning third. And here's a throw from center field. And he is safe. 2-1 Tigers. That was a play. Versus set, hut, back to pass. There goes Harbaugh over to left side. Oh, incomplete. Yeah, that's TV timeout. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Come on. Come on. I love college football. I like football. I really do. But I think this discussion about the boring angle of baseball goes even further. Forget the time. Starts going to the sabermetrics, right? And the analytics and how it's ruined the game because of the 3 true outcomes. And, that's fair. But there are people working to make it better. People like Theo Epstein, who could be the next commissioner. Oh, my, who knows? They actively realize, and he benefited as much as anybody. And did 2 curses. Give me 2, Utah. 2 curses. That's 2, Utah. But he realizes that 3 true outcomes is an entertainment factor? Boring. So I think there's people in the pipeline who recognize what all the fans recognize, and they're ready to make a change. Now, change never comes quickly. We've already discussed this. People don't like change. We fear change. Right? That's what Garth said it best. We fear change. It's true. And there's a certain point where we just got to be a little bit more patient. And I know that sucks because we don't like being patient. We don't. Okay, so we don't like change, and we also don't want to be patient. Sounds like a recipe for absolute disaster. A total failure. How can... Isn't that ridiculous? I don't want any change, but I want something to change, and I want it now. Doesn't add up. I'm confused. And if you're confused, good, because we should both be confused together at the same time. Anyways, that was some of the frustrations let out by you directly. The people have spoken. And then there's this one. Rob Manfred and the corporate greed of owners. Yeah. It's really, really hard to defend Rob Manfred. I thought about it last night. I was laying in bed. Imagine this. Laying in bed, thinking about Rob Manfred, and saying to myself, what is one redeeming quality that he has? Couldn't do it. Couldn't find it. And that's a red flag. There's really no way for me to sugarcoat that, is there? Because I don't have any redeeming qualities for you, Mr. Manfred. You just don't seem to have any. You're greedy. You don't like the game at all, apparently. You want to destroy the World Series trophy. You just don't seem to have any enthusiasm for the actual game. And the only reason you're in your position is because you are the master of corporate greed. And the corporate greedy people who define corporate greed to a T and care more about money than they care about wins, they go to you. And then they ask you, hey, we love money, but you love money too. Can you help us make more money? I don't care about the game either. You're perfect to represent us. What do you say, Rob? Is it a deal? Come on. It's bogus. Disappointing too. But Rob Manfred, people don't like him. And I know people don't like commissioners either. Nobody likes Roger Goodell. I can actually find a redeeming quality about Roger Goodell. I really could. And Gary Bettman, I think he's kind of like in the same fashion of a Manfred. Adam Silver is clearly the legit commissioner of the 4 major sports. Good on you, Adam Silver. Oddly enough, all 4 of them are old white dudes. So just saying, doesn't feel representative. So there it is. Those are a lot of the complaints, and the answers, they don't come easy. That's the problem. So you might be sitting through this and be like, what the hell's the point of all this, Mike? Why are we watching you babble on? Well, they gave me the time slot, so it's mine. And I did say, is baseball boring? Can we make it less boring? The answer is yes. I'm giving you some answers here. I'm giving you some key concepts. Patience. Let's chill. Let's wait it out a little bit. But let's also be advocates. So if you're patient and an advocate, that again may seem like a conundrum. Might seem like an oxymoron. But that's not true. Patient advocates are the ones, and I don't mean patient advocates like the people who advocate for patients in a hospital. Not you. I'm talking about a patient advocate who has an agenda, has a goal in mind. It's going to be patient about it. Take your time. But with resolve, steadfast. This might be a leap, but, AIDS was a huge deal. HIV and AIDS was a massive deal. And it didn't seem like a lot of people were doing anything about it. But slowly but surely, groups fought together. And they pushed the agenda. They were patient. And when they didn't hear anything, they finally took things up another notch. And they started to get results. More funding, more medicine. And they started to save lives. Now, baseball is not a life or death matter. I understand that because I'm a grown human being. But there's a lesson there. Let's advocate for change, growth. Some people don't like the runner on second base. That was a fun trial in 2020. That was so divisive. In fact, I'm bringing it up now. Oh, no! Oh, no! The runner on second base! No! People don't like that. But some people thought it was fun because having a runner on base at any given time is a fun moment. That's cool, right? So think about that. Think about the changes they try and the ones that work and the ones that don't. I got some other questions here. I got a little bit more time, so yay! Woohoo! I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I'm Michael Govier, and I'm the host of the Palazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's, by the way. If you like fantasy baseball, I know a lot about that too, but this is not a fantasy baseball-focused discussion currently, just for the record. All right, well, here some other funny comments. They don't not really helpful, but commish is trash, and this goes back to the complaints you have about Major League Baseball. And tweaking of the balls. Thank you. Thank you, whoever said tweaking of the balls. Now, this, to me, is one of the biggest issues. Forget service time manipulation, all the CBA stuff. You cannot mess with the literal physical tools of the game. You can't change the ball all the time. You can't adjust the ball however the hell you feel like it. That jeopardizes integrity, flat out. So the easy way to end that is to have an independent panel that is made up of MLBPA people, Major League Baseball players, and the owner, people, front office, executives, whoever, and independent third parties, not like your crony buddies, independent third parties, legitimate. How about baseball aficionados? How about experts in the game? Sports writers, yeah, maybe, but bloggers, fantasy baseball experts. These people love the game. They cherish the game, and they know a ton about it. How about Eno Saris? Put him on an independent panel that checks that the balls are not being messed with. I think that's a guy with a lot of integrity, and I think we could all get behind that. What do you think, Eno? Not a bad idea. Nick Pollock, you'd be a good choice, too. Just saying. You can't have that type of manipulation. You're jeopardizing the game. People gamble on the game, and whether you like gambling or not, it's very, very important. There's big money involved, and people like gambling because it makes the game more interesting to them. And anything that makes the game more interesting to anybody needs to stick around, right? So you can't have a baseball changing mid-season. And that's what happened last year. Don't be fooled. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Last year, 2021, they got rid of the gunk mid-season. We know that for sure. The pitching gunk. some pitchers just lost their way, like Shane Bieber. Don't love Shane Bieber this year. I really don't, for fantasy purposes. Plus, it changed for the hitters. And it changed for the fielders. It changed for the whole game. And certain types of pitchers who were fly ball pitchers, they were able to take advantage, and ground ball pitchers, maybe they weren't able to take as great advantage. That's just not how the game should be played. Shouldn't be done that way. And that is just something that could easily be fixed. And how that actually gets executed in terms of creating a panel, a committee, whatever you want to call it, whatever professional, corporate, fancy word you have for it, get it done. And the baseball needs to be preserved at all costs. There's just no debate about that. And it's a real problem. Because you're playing fantasy baseball, people are putting tons of money on it. Sure, there's people who play in small-time leagues, but there's people who play in big money leagues. NFBC, main events, tens of thousands of dollars on the line. And if the baseball is being compromised, that is bad news. That'll turn off even the most diehard of baseball lovers. That's a very dangerous situation. And I don't think it gets enough discussion today. It gets discussed and people write articles about it on occasion, but it needs to be much more at the forefront. But we've gotten used to it because they've been messing with the baseball for years now. So, this is the fate. It's just very exhausting. But my resolve remains steadfast, and I will not give in. I won't. So we got to continue that fight. All right, so we've covered that. I think we covered all the big highlights I wanted to cover. You guys really know your baseball, and even the people who didn't talk in great detail about the game, they really broke it down honestly and quite eloquently. I will say that. All right, I asked this question. Do you feel included and comfortable enough engaging with people at MLB-oriented events like games, fantasy leagues, or otherwise that might involve Major League Baseball? Please explain. Now, what I was looking for here was to maybe get some people to open up to me about feeling like the game, gatekeepers and inclusivity with the game, it's a big issue. It really is. And it gets uncomfortable for some people, especially white dudes for some reason. We've seen it. And I'm not talking about Twitter debates. I'm talking about honest, wholesome, legitimate discussions where you're trying to find some common ground, okay? And this is important. It really is. But, a lot of these questions, people said no, yes, I do. I feel included. Yes, sure. But I usually abstain. Okay. But I didn't get. One person wrote not applicable. Okay, well, appreciate that. Unclear which people you are referring to. So maybe the question's bad. I've got lessons to learn. I make mistakes every day, and I'll continue to make them, so don't worry about that. But overall, it's fascinating, except for this. Depends on the stadium for in-person and whether I am a home team fan or not. Non-home team fandom is hit or miss. Back in the Candlestick days, non-home team fans would be treated miserably. In the current Giants stadium, opposing teams' fans seem to be treated much better. As a Giants fan living in SoCal, Dodgers games are much worse experiences, similar to what I saw in my younger days for opposing fans at Candlestick. Fantasy and otherwise, I feel comfortable engaging, but I am more of an introvert, so I tend not to do so. Okay, that is a lovely answer, and I want to thank you for being very open. Appreciate that. And, there's some ugly history between those two teams and the fandom outside the park. It's unfortunate, but I don't think that's the norm. I think in baseball, I've gone to a lot of parks. Not all of them. I got a lot of parks I still need to go to, but the parks I've gone to, they've been pretty welcoming. And it's uncomfortable to bring up, and especially maybe it's for me, because technically, if you got to label me, if you want to throw some labels on me, I'm a white male. My skin is white, and I'm a male. I am Jewish, though, so I don't know if that changes things at all. My point being is the game has to be inclusive for everybody. And this is not just a fantasy baseball thing. This is a baseball thing. The players playing the game represent a huge swath of the world's cultures. But do the fans of all those cultural backgrounds feel comfortable and respected and have enough of an entitlement and ownership of the game to go to the games and feel good about interacting with other people or not. This is something everyone needs to think about. I don't care if it makes you uncomfortable, and it makes me a little uncomfortable, but I know that it's something that needs to be discussed, and there needs to be further analysis. So I'll leave it there, because I was trying to have a good time here too, but you can't just have a good time all the time. You got to open up your mind to the truth. And I know I talked about the ignorance is bliss at the beginning of this, but I don't really believe that. I want to know the truth, and it's harsher, and it can be more painful, but we can learn more from it, and we can be better off because of that. We'll grow from it. Through pain, through challenging, awful, traumatic experiences, there actually can be tremendous growth, lessons learned, and a greater appreciation for existence. Yep, I know. This is the baseball talk, and now he's talking about a greater appreciation for existence. Ugh, boring. Yeah, I know. I think I'm boring now. That's the case. Oh boy, it's almost been 45 minutes here. I don't know how much more time I have. I'm sure you guys are watching me right now. Am I being watched? Who's out there? They're out there. Okay, so as far as the other questions, they were kind of just cheeseball questions. They were about, how old are you? Will baseball still be relevant? MLB still be relevant in 2060? What do you think it was? How many people, what was the percentage of people that said MLB will still be relevant in 2060? Take a guess. 3, 2, 1. The answer is 86%. So that's a healthy ringing endorsement. However, 14%, I don't know if you can see that pie chart, but 14% say it will not be relevant by 2060. That's just under 40 years. And it's not like 2%. I know this is a small sample survey, so I understand the dynamics of that, but I find that fascinating. And if we don't address these issues in a timely, patient, but determined and focused manner, then events like Tiger Stadium 99, the Red Sox coming down 3-0 against the Yankees to win the ALCS and then win a World Series for the first time in 86 years. Things like that might not happen again. Because they won't have the same meaning, because people won't have the buy-in. And it's not about what you think now and the memories that you've had. It's not about my memories that I've had. It's not about my Tiger Stadium memory, but it also is. You know what I mean? When I say that, we got to step beyond ourselves and think about how other people are dealing with the game, how they're receiving the game. People that you don't know at all. Or maybe people you do know and you think you do know, but you don't because you haven't taken the time to understand them. There is so many positive things that come out of PitchCon alone. A 4-day event, raises money, helps people eat food, makes a difference by sharing data with you, information with you, connecting with you, building a community with you. This is just PitchCon alone, and this is just a simple little fantasy baseball event. No offense, Mr. Pollock and pitcherless people. Miles, you're killing it, by the way. Thank you, Miles. This is just one little example of how much connection, satisfaction, and appreciation we can have for the game of baseball through one means. This is a fantasy-driven thing. And I know mine hasn't, but the overall, it's an overall fantasy-driven focus so you guys can have a lot of data from the best in the biz to win your leagues, which means making money, which is really what fantasy is about in the end. And that's cool because I love making money. It's pretty fun. Not going to lie about that. But just remember, this is one sample, one example. Maybe somebody else needs to start another event, and you could be the person who makes it happen. Are you the impetus for change and growth? And it's not even change. You could be the impetus for somebody who creates something like TGFBI that Justin Mason created. He started it up out of nothing, and now everyone loves it. And it's a really inclusive event of analysts and non-analysts, and almost anybody could be in it, and it keeps growing. Isn't that cool? What if Justin Mason had never done that? What if he decided, I don't want to do this TGFBI thing. It's a waste of time. Nobody cares about me. We all would have lost out. Right? I think that's fair to say. So maybe you are the person. Maybe I'm the person. I don't know. But one of us out there is somebody who can create another opportunity for exchange, discussion. I think having discourse and debates, fair debates, not Twitter debates that are typed out. I'm talking about direct verbal discussion about the state of the game, where we're going, what the story is. I think all that stuff is very, very relevant and as topical as ever. And I do love this game. I don't know exactly what my messaging ended up being for this talk. I hoped it was useful and positive. But I love the game of baseball. I always have. There's nothing like putting on a mitt on my hand and shagging fly balls. It's the coolest of the cool. It really is. It's a lot of fun. I could do that for hours. If I just had one friend who could hit balls to me in an outfield or an open area of grass for like an hour every day, if I could just have my own Tom Brady's guy, Guerrero, if I could have my own Alex Guerrero who would run routes with me and train with me 7 days a week, I would be a happier person. Because baseball, the game itself, just playing it, and even just shagging balls or taking BP, it's a lot of fun. Having a catch. Field of Dreams is kind of a cheesy movie. It is. And they manipulate us in that movie. But I get it. You got a connection with your father, and it means everything to you. That's fine. I'm not here to poo-poo that. But having a catch with a dad or a mom or anybody, it's a tender moment. It's a lot of fun. And it could be beautiful because you're sharing time with someone you love. And that's what baseball can do. You can share time with people you love. Let's just try to make it not as expensive either. I didn't even bring that up. The fact that if you have a family, I don't have children. I'm lucky. I got one ticket. I'm good to go. If you got a family of four, though, or something like that, it's an expensive proposition to go to a game. And that ruins an opportunity for that family to have a bonding experience through baseball. It can really happen. I believe it now. I do. So, I think that's it for me. I'm almost out of gas. Do I got to go another 10 minutes? Because, woo, I'm spent. I could do it. But I don't know if you guys are checking in on me. It's 3:50 now.
We all want you to do it. If you can do it. This is the most entertaining. I'm having an absolute ball with this. I'm in absolute awe. I want you to keep going. Can you do it?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we could talk if you want to. I mean,
Oh no,
okay.
I can't do anything close to what you're doing in like the best way. Like you are
all right.
So crushing this. You got this.
Okay, well then I'll finish it out. So, I was thinking about another time I had with the game itself, because when you sit down for a few minutes and you think about why you get attracted to a game of baseball and why it's not football, and there is the same passion. There are incredible documentaries like Hoop Dreams. It's a fabulous documentary about basketball, trying to make it happen. Love that. It's a great documentary. If you've never seen Hoop Dreams, check it out. It's powerful, powerful stuff. But when people try to say that baseball is different than other sports, what are they saying? And what do they mean by that when they're saying that? I think about that a lot. And I wonder if there's strange meanings behind it, hidden subtext that I don't understand, because they all have appeal. Basketball, football, hockey, all of these games have appeal. They really do. But what is it about baseball that has an extra special sense of connection? Because I also see that. And I'd be really curious to know. I want to get feedback too, so I'm sure you guys are saying stuff in the commentary. And if you're watching this on replay, hit me up at MJ Govier on Twitter. G-O-V as in Victor I-E-R. And let me know what it is about the game that you really find yourself being so enthralled with, so connected to on another level as opposed to maybe another sport. College football and baseball really do have a lot in common. Not just because they're both long. No, it's because they both have a lot of tradition and routines mixed within them. Baseball, you can go on road trips. This, to me, is what really separates baseball from some of the other sports professionally. You could go on these roadies and hit up, 10 stadiums over a couple of weeks And they're all unique. And this is really why baseball is special, because it has unique dimensions for every field. It's the coolest. It's so rad. It's genius. Whoever originally came up with that concept and whoever stuck with it, I'm giving them credit. These are likely pre-integration people, so I'm actually giving those people credit. Only for the fact that they came up with something so unique, which made the game special. And when you can go on a road trip with friends or a family, your children, your grandparents, that is a bond, because it's not just the game. You're also driving, and hopefully you have a comfortable car. It's not a Griswold experience, something awful, where dad's going to flip out by the end of the road trip. We don't want that to happen. But I will say, there is so much to learn from a road trip like that, from the people you love and about the game. And then you get to compare the different parks. You're like, oh man, it's so cool. Here's what they got at Busch Stadium, and here's what's going on down at Globe Life Field. It's different. And you get to travel the country at the same time. And baseball is a summer sport. It's not a winter sport. So that also is advantageous to the fact that you could be out and about, enjoying all parts of the country, even the cold parts like right here in Michigan, where it was like 2 degrees last night. It's cold. It's not fun when it's that cold. Although, I like the winter. When you're a fatter guy like me, you look better in bigger stuff when you have to dress warmly. So, thanks for that, winter. You've always been there for me. Protecting my gut. Thank you. But summertime in Minnesota, it's just like anywhere else. I mean, it's not like Houston, but it's still in the 80s. It hits the 90s. And you can go to Target Field, catch a game. Then you can cruise over to Milwaukee, catch a game where it's not the frozen tundra. It's just beautiful summertime weather. And along the way, you get to experience all of what the country has to offer. So, if anybody ever asks you, what makes baseball so different or so unique? That's what it is. It's not all of these sports have tradition. They do. I know baseball's old as hell, and I can't believe, just for the record, a side note, I never consider any of the stats from pre-1900 when I was a kid, before I learned about the real reality of life. That was just ridiculous too. It was like, come on. But college football has tradition, the NFL has tradition, NBA, college basketball, all these sports, there's a lot of tradition. It goes back decades and decades and decades. But it's this unique factor I see as the reason why baseball is special. And we're always looking for something special. I'm always looking for something special. I don't know about you. I don't want my life to just be mundane. I mean, sure, it's mundane a lot, especially when COVID's going on and you don't leave the house very often. A lot of mundane days. Yeah. But, life can fly by. It's precious and it's short. And I don't care what anybody thinks of me. Sometimes they call me a cheese ball. That's fine. I can live with it, because when you've suffered pain greatly and you know how terrible life can be, and it can be brutal. Life can just crush you. It can be cold and brutal and devastating, and it can take everything away from you. But yet, you still carry forth because of the spirit of existence, even through the darkest, most painful, most cruel times imaginable. So after you've experienced things like that and you know what it feels like, to go out to a road trip or just go see a baseball game on a summer's night, it's a wonderful time. And we should all be more appreciative of that. That's not a mundane experience. And if it is mundane because of the 3 true outcomes, well, then that needs to be advocated for and adjusted, right? Isn't that what we've learned here today? I hope we learned something, because if we just sit there and complain about it to each other on Twitter or whatever social media we're having, jabs at, we're sparring with each other verbally through typed text. And I know a lot of people love it. And, drama can be fun. I get it. I want to have a good time. I'm not uptight. Okay? I can have fun. And I can have some silly fun. But just remember that, okay? Just remember that. All right, I'm done. About again.
Yes. Oh my God. So good. I seriously, I think I speak for everybody. We could just listen to you all day, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I'm absolutely just astounded by what you can do. It's incredible. Great message, great everything. Michael Govier, everybody, just thank you Thank you so much. So
Thank you,
great.
Nick. Thanks.
While you're here, I gotta say, people were commenting. It does look like you're British right now with the blue and the red and the white on the backdrop. I know you can't see because there's a green screen behind you, but the image you made.
British.
I love it. Every show too has a different backdrop, right? Yeah, you make something new.
Yeah, I got a billion of these things. It's just fun to do. Canva, it's an incredible invention. What can I say?
It's amazing. But yeah, seriously, Mike, thank you so much for that. I got to see more. How can we see more of this?
Boy, I've never really done anything like this. I don't think I've ever done anything like this, frankly. I do a podcast, of course, the Plaza Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's, which is a fantasy baseball focused podcast. And I do a movie podcast. You can go to my Twitter, MJ Govier, G-O-V as in Victor, IER. That's how you can access all the pods I do about. I do a pod about life called the First Aid Pod about mental health and addiction and empowerment, wisdom, education. I think it's a pretty important podcast too. So if you're if you liked anything you saw today, just hit me up at MJ Govier, G-O-V as in Victor, IER on Twitter. And I hope the audio wasn't terrible. And if I look British, that's cool because the Brits are good people. And I thank you, Nick Pollock, for giving me the time.
Can you do one more thing for us?
Yeah.
Can you bang the drum?
Sure, yeah, right here. No problemo.
Yes.